Good morning, everybody. It's Saturday, May 31st, 2025, and it's the Wall Street Weekly Wrap-Up with your host, John Newquist. Sell in May and go away? No. We'll show you. No. No, no, no. And it was an interesting month. Of course, let's take a look at the week. The EU taco. That's what they're calling it now. And you know he doesn't like it. Always chickens out. You can figure out what the T means. He blinked. We're going down to 10% on the EU because they called up and said, hey, we need till July. And it was all good. Everything was up. You can see the week kind of going good. And then, you know, he got, Brustner said, oh, yeah, the China talks are stalling and they can't get the rare earth minerals, which they want. So he says he's going to talk to Xi, which probably Xi's like, you're not talking to me. But how are we doing? You know, positive for the year. That's always good. Because if you're at NASDAQ, you're still down. The best May in 35 years. If you got out in April, you dropped 6%. Remember, the average year, 8% is on a stock market. You just lost 3/4 of your gains in 1 month. 3/4 of your gains. You lost 6%. You can't even get a bond for 6%. You know, at least that you know, municipal type of thing you might be able to get. But holy smokes, it was a heck of a May. And you know, as I said, we're always invested. We played we're playing the recession card still. Again, the portfolio, you know, 0.32. The S&P eked up just barely. The Dow's down for the year. NASDAQ's down for the year. Everything else is down for the year. And we're just happy to be positive. And if you look at the SPY or the S&P 500, it can't quite break the trend. It's up there. You know, people wanted to get up there and break that 610 level. We're all hoping. We're all hoping. You know, what everybody doesn't want is just a double mini top, you know. And it's going to be lower lows and, you know, lower highs. And that's not what we want to see. So I think the economy's good. NVDA, we'll talk about it because it's the king. The 2-year note going up to 3.2, you know, the 10 years around 4.4, and that's, you know, still high. A lot of people worried about the bond market because if they don't like what's going on, it doesn't matter what the Fed does, it doesn't matter what the president does, it's going to hurt if the interest rates are high. You have to have this discipline with the fiscal policy. Crude oil, you know, at 60, that's good. That's good for everybody, except if you're trying to sell crude oil. Natural gas, 345. I think it'll go down a little bit lower, probably close to 3 by the end of summer. Gold's hanging in pretty tough, 3,300. Remember, 34 was our area that we broke. Silver's at 33, a lot of 33s, you know. And copper still strong at 468, which is good. I just picked the soybean chart up. You know, historically, $10 soybeans has been normal, and it's kind of been floating back there between 9.50 and 10, and you know, that's all dependent on a normal crop, you know, which it should be. It should be. We don't have anything of a aggressive heat wave or anything else. The one, the only, the king, the NVIDIA, you know, 69%. Oh, people are upset. It didn't go 70% again. Margins are at 70%. Data centers sequentially 73%. Gaming, which, you know, and what they thought, the interesting thing is, you know, he didn't get into it. It was AI PC revenues. You know, he was talking in May he was going to have an AI PC, and he ain't out yet. You know, it was going to be like a $3,000 PC. You know, I'd be like, who do I want to buy that or not? You know, I would like to have a new one. Actually, the Lenovo, I think it is. I can't remember what it is. Lenovo. I think it's 4 years old, 5 years old now. It's doing good. NVIDIA, man, this free cash flow, $26 billion, $72 billion for the quarter. They've got a lot of money, a lot of money. And of course, you know, like I said, the time to buy is when they break out of the downtrend. And when it broke out of the downtrend, it's been up since. A lot of people looking at that 153 number. Can it break it? Getting close. It's crawling up there. You know, it never goes straight up. You know, I mean, usually it just kind of jags up or go down a little bit, then comes up. But I think we will see 153 by the end of the summer for sure. And again, the export controls, they came right up and said it's going to be an $8 billion hit. $8 billion. Wow. But everything else, was pretty good. And remember, they got the UAE and Saudi revenues coming in. The hyperscalers have done well. The impact of AI is going to be a lot. Let me go back one more slide here. What I wanted to get into was, oh, here it is. The Blackwell chip's going to have an Ultra, which is kind of like, I call it the Pro version, because they always have the iPhone and the iPhone Pro and stuff. So the Rubin chipset is what everybody's looking at. That's what he's holding, supposedly in his hand. Look at the size of that thing. Holy smokes. I remember when the Pentium, it was like a little bitty thing, and now we got a big chipset for it, and I don't know how much it's going to cost, but a lot of people want it. It's going to be faster than the Blackwell, 2026, but that means really probably 2027 before we get it in there. Ormel, or one of our recession stock plays, because you're going to eat no matter what. Maybe not as much, but you are going to have to eat something. And, it's going sideways, which is okay. It's not going down. If it was going down, we would be out of the stock. And but 3.78% dividends, not so bad. Taiwan Semi is going to build in the UAE, which is really a good sign. You think about it. If you want a good data center and you want some chips, maybe you get the chips made there. What's interesting is that, they have an interesting relationship with China. So, I don't want to say they could give chips over there, but they can have a lot more access from UAE than they would have at the United States. Again, Taiwan Semi, we're the 20 day is beating up over the 200, which is good. The 50 days still below. But overall, it's coming back. And again, they're the game. Our three kings are ARM, NVIDIA, and Taiwan Semi, because that's the top chipset makers. That whole component. One makes it, one has the processor, and one makes the AI. And the JP Morgan, I was listening to the 30-minute interview they did on CNBC, which they were trying to charge $99, and it's on YouTube free. It's like, come on. I hate these tier things. You already pay for CNBC. A separate thing. Just to be able to watch CNBC online, which I watch a lot, and then I have it on Sirius, which I pay Sirius the money, and but I like to be able to have it anytime and just be able to listen to it. So it's kind of nice and not that expensive, but I don't want to pay for a pro. I'm just like, give it to me free. But U.S. has federal debt mismanagement, schools and healthcare is a little bit dysfunctional, and trust in government is probably low. And again, they think the impact, he keeps on talking about it. Don't count out the recession issue. That's like me. We're hedging for a recession. I mean, maybe it won't come, but we're less growth than we probably ever are, because we have to have some stability, some foreign exposures, because we cannot be putting everything in the U.S. if the U.S. has a recession. National security, he thinks it was interesting. This is what we should be making. He said something like, we have like 7 days of supply of missiles in China if we have a war with China. And he's like, what is that, 7 days? We're not going to make these missiles up there. We have a war, we can fight for 7 days. That's like Ukraine or something. It's like, wow. We should be hoarding and making sure we have all the pharmaceutical, rare earth, semiconductor supply chains that, that we're going to be insulated if something goes wrong. And of course we don't. We underestimated the need for these rare earth metals and stuff. And China's got a lot of the ones that we want, particularly stuff with magnets. And then he talks about private equities bigger than probably any other group of people, and they get the, carry trade, and these groups aren't really paying their fair share. So kind of an interesting speech. JPM again, 200-day, 50 and 200 above it. Good chart right now. Good chart. Good solid chart. Costco, we watched Walmart, 8% revenue. That's pretty good in retail. Anytime you get 8%, that's really the king in retail. For a bigger company. And the charts never did really collapse under like, I mean, yeah, everything went down with Liberation Day, but overall Costco's been solid. Ulta, you know, I always watch the cosmetics because I always think cosmetics, no matter what it is, they're going to buy, you know. It's a tough time, but you always buy the products. And Ulta's 4.5, which, you know, it's okay. You know, it's not bad. You know, you're not going to get 10% on retail. But it's really a first good quarter for Ulta. And of course, they liked it, man. I mean, they jumped that stock from 420 to 471. $50 jump because of the revenues. And, you know, they beat by a lot. But where do they get the products? Overseas. They're not making it in the United States for the most part. Elf, the competitor, I was shocked. Now, they jumped it too, but it only went up 3%. Remember, Elf, I've been watching for years. It is usually 30% growth annually, and it only went up 3%. I would dump it right there because something's going wrong. Again, they bought an influencer. What do you want to call Rhodes? I don't know. You know, I hate to say I'm not up with the times, but paying $1 billion for her beauty line, I would have got Rihanna if I would have got anybody. You know, because actually Rihanna's products are pretty good. But you know, they're going to increase sales. You know, you pay for it, but revenues will rise if she is continuing to have products that are good. Dell, you know, 5%. Again, tech company. They, you know, it's in a positive territory. Look, chart's starting to look good. Making the servers, you know, that all the NVIDIA components go into, along with other ones. Marvel, you know, Marvel. How do you say it? This is just, I mean, I remember you know, Kramer owning this, and this is just when he finally got sick and just sold it. You know, I mean, you go from 120 down to 50. That's brutal. That is brutal, capital B. I thought the revenue growth in the quarter was good. 63% growth is really solid. But during the week, you know, Grandpa put the more China restrictions for the software, for products selling to China related to semis. Remember, we already had the hit for NVIDIA. Now it's even worse. It goes into all the other ones from, you know, Lam Research, Applied Materials, selling any products that could possibly help the Chinese. So that's software, technology. So that's why it didn't jump as good as it should have, like an Ulta. Gap, I was surprised. You know, they beat it up. You know, okay, revenues went up 2%. And I know there's worry about tariffs. You know, this is what the Ulta chart should have looked like. I mean, I would think it was going good, and then pow. Now we dropped a lot. A lot of people got out of the gap, and I just sit there and I think it's going to have a hard time with Shein and Temu. You know, as people figure out, you can buy directly from China, and really, you know, pay. You know what the Chinese have done now is they're hiding the tariffs in the price. You know, let's say the shirts were $8. I was buying shirts on Temu. I mean, excuse me, Shein for $8. High quality shirts that I thought was really good. Now they're 16. They don't put the tariff in there, but they just raised the price. They're still cheaper than anything in the United States. And what I'm seeing also on Amazon, they're doing the same thing. They're just selling the products at just a little bit more, you know. And so it's kind of a game of like, okay, nobody wants to be called out by the president and say, oh, you know, you make $1 billion, I think you can absorb the tariffs. So they're just putting subtle price increases, and nobody's going to notice it. Kohl's, you know, in retail, wow, you know, went down 4%. So, but look at this, it's peaking above the trend line. So if it does break through, you know, if you want to buy Kohl's, you do it. The trouble is, again, you know, when you go in there and it's $40 pants normal price, and you're hoping to maybe get a sale for $30, and Shein's out there selling it for $16, $20. There it is, you know. I mean, you know, you got to do something different, you know. And I don't know if Kohl's got it. Sephora, I go in there, it's kind of okay, not doing well. Salesforce, wow, this is you know, dropping. Again, Kramer's not dropped it yet, and I was watching it like, you know, 7% on a tech company. I don't want to see under double digits, so I wouldn't hold it myself. But I mean, this is a double top, and we had the Liberation Day. It really didn't do much because it already dropped so much, and you know, kind of popped up after that, and then it's just been rolling over. So kind of a tough stock. You notice how it goes right to the 200-day moving average, it bounces right off and goes back down. So not good, not good. And this is you know, again, if you're growing, you're going to have more customers. If you have a recession, you're going to have less. And you know, this is kind of my recession indicator. Dick's, you know, I thought it was pretty good. You know, revenues increased 5%. That's solid for retail. You know, I mean, you're not going to get 10% for most of the big stores. And you know, so I thought overall pretty good. It's still in a negative channel, so we wouldn't even want to buy it. And Tesla, you know, I have to say, Grok probably is now number 2. ChatGPT, Grok, and then Google Gemini. And I just say for my use, you know, Elon has got a different perspective on it. It's more research and more information and news. And he gave Telegram $20 million or whatever it was, some lot of money. I mean, to have access to it. He doesn't have access like the FSB from Russia, but I think it's going to come. I mean, he's going to be able to mine all the posts in all the different languages, which Telegram's used a lot, and get data out of there that's in there. And of course, Grok's very careful to mention it's a Telegram post. It may not be verified, but you know, after you realize, you know, when you can say this person is 90% accurate on their posts, then you might as well just take it as truth. You got a track record. That's how we can assess. If they go out there and they make stupid stuff all the day long, and you say, well, maybe 1 out of 15 posts are accurate, then you just, you know, you write it out. You can watch a person and see, because you know, if you look at the history and you post on the topic all the time, you know which ones are right. So I think it's a clever move, and he can mine everything in X. Everything in X. So of course, you know, he lost so many people in X. It's if he would have done it right, he would have had the best database out there with all the current information and all the thought processes and stuff. But he didn't. But you know, like I said, he's going to work at Tesla, sleep on the floors and everything, which people like. And he did the Doge party yesterday. Hey, he's back. He said thank you very much, and you know, big love fest. So. But let's take a look. UBS says, well, surveys are saying, well, they're not too much interested in the Tesla anymore, particularly in Europe. And competition in China, beyond your wildest dreams, BYD is kicking their butt. 10 times more sales than Tesla. So the technology leader is not there. A lot of hope in the robo-taxi coming out this summer for Austin. Small group. You know, I mean, I hope he makes it. I want it. I didn't realize how much people want no driver to sit there and talk. They just want to get in the car and go there. And I just started thinking, you know, I could just sit there, wake up, hop in the autonomous vehicle, and I get there and get an extra hour of sleep instead of having to pay attention in the traffic, you know. Yeah, it takes you maybe 10 minutes longer because it's going to go to speed limit, but wow. And then truckers, oh my God, truck shortage, no more. Going to go to Chicago to Houston, and it's going to drive and pull in this place, and there'll be a person filling it up, and it'll be safer. Again, the Optimus Romont, he thinks 1 million by 2030. I don't think so. I mean, I think you'll have smart Siri, smart Amazon, you know, and that'll be what we'll have for right now. And eventually we'll have some robot that'll be able to take out the garbage, but boy, that can't come fast enough. Bitcoin, oh, Alexa, what's the price of Bitcoin? You know, you get wrapped up.
One Bitcoin is worth 104,000.
104. So last Friday,
down 1% over the last 24
we
hours.
dropped 7,000. People are probably like, so you know, last Friday it was good. This Friday, not so good. And I want to check the foreign stock. Here's the foreign stocks we own, and 3 of them are ETFs. So I'm just going to cover the ETFs. I'll cover the Taiwan and Roche and ARM and Flutter later on. But you know, one of the things about these foreign ETFs with Franklin Templeton is they pay dividends, but they're also good. You know, okay, the first one we got is the China fund. China's been sideways, which is fine. It's not negative. I think there will be eventually a China deal, and this will go up way below above 20. We'll get a 20% pop when there's a deal. We just got to get the deal, which we only have England in 118 days. So China sets the tone for everybody. So Bressner, I have confidence he can do it. It's just that they got to get going. Germany, look at this thing, pays 1.8. I mean, look at this. It broke above the trend. A lot of people got out of it, and of course it's the Templeton fund. But I mean, this is a good chart. Here's a 200-day or 50 and 20 or way above it. This is it, because Germany's spending money. They're willing to go into debt, which they don't really have a lot. So to me, I think they're starting to realize that they're gonna take care of themselves and do spending and big defense, and I think it's going to be good for all the German stocks, which have been kind of flat for years. And of course, Mexico has an agreement. Whatever, he's had, really no animosity toward Mexico. They've obviously worked on the fentanyl and the immigration, and yeah, you got people that are coming over there from Mexico. Send them back. We'll take them. And the dividend's good. Financial is the biggest holding, and then they got some industries and stuff. But look at this. This thing's been good since we've owned it. And it's slowly creeping up. And I mean, a little too steep of an angle, but here's the thing. This thing was much higher, and now it's coming back. It's starting to do a bowl shape, so we can get back up higher, and that's going to be a good thing. And then the month, best month since 1990, 35 years. Let's take a look at it. Well, Microsoft and NVDA, Google, Meta, triple digits. Holy smokes. I mean, or Google's not really triple, 8%. JP Morgan up 7%. Lilly is the dog at 17%, but that's just one stock. I mean, we don't have Merck, we don't have Berkshire Hathaway, we don't have Apple, we don't have, we do have UNH. No, but we bought it at the low, remember? It's a little bit different. But overall, a good month. I mean, there's just a couple, like I said, Lilly's are really kind of surprised, but I'm telling you, they're making healthcare tough, whether they pay for stuff, it's like, you don't need the obesity drugs, just go eat a diet, if it's so easy, I mean, the demand is there, and, even though they may try to stifle it, I think it'll still grow, and they're, the research is going to be tougher, and if you're going to lose all these foreign students at the universities that do research, it's not going to be easier yet, so, but a good month, and we should be happy for a good month. Like I said, the whims of the person waking up in the morning could determine the market in June, and we just have to go through the taco trades, as we're going to call them now. I just think it's so funny. I mean, and I honestly, thought he did a good job. He said, if they call up wanting to make a deal and it's going to benefit the United States, I don't think that's chickening out at all. It's good business sense. I mean, remember, he loves the tariffs. He would love to have a lot of tariff money to spend on other stuff. So I understand it. And it'd be nice to get some money from tariffs when we're losing a trade war with a company or a country. So, all right, let's be good. Have a good week. And it'll be a full week next week. I'll talk to you tomorrow, and have a good week. Bye.